Now, to further discuss this, I'm joined by Dayo Adu, a managing partner at More Room Africa. Thank you for joining us, Dayo.
Thank you for having me.
We do know that many times these cases are not reported. And is it a question of ignorance that a lot of people do not report? I mean, look at the cases we highlighted there. They are less than 10, but we do know that these cases are quite frequent across the country. Why do you think people don't go ahead to report these cases?
Well, it depends on the circumstance, and it also depends on the patients as well, and relatives of the patients. So in some cases, what will typically happen is, do I want to escalate this? The grief is there, the pain is there, and it's about what's next. Because to meet the threshold of even proving medical negligence is quite steep. And when you see a family that has lost a loved one, culturally, it may be difficult for them to want to subject the disease to postmortem. And, you know, we're also a very religious society, where in some cases what we just say is, oh, well, we have to accept this. It's the act of God, and want to draw a line and just move on. But what I would say is that I think it's time for sensitization, especially on the rights of patients. One of the things I think needs to be done as well is, perhaps for every facility you enter, there should be maybe sort of like an information on patients' rights at the reception or at the entrance of the hospital. That way, patients are able to glean and get information on what their rights are. Something that we adopted.
Dayo, if you can hear me, so that we can, because we really don't have time, so we really need to move real quick. I was going to ask you, using the most recent cases, you've talked about patients' rights pasted at the point where a patient can see it when they walk in. But let's use some of the most recent cases. Chimamanda Adichie's son, as painful as that might be, and then the woman in Kano whose abdomen had a scissors left in there.
Yes.
From the legal point of view, what makes these cases so significant?
So it's not about the people involved now. Healthcare should be equal. Access to healthcare should be uniform across board. I think to prove negligence, there are four core elements. There has to be a duty of care on the part of the doctors, which means that the level and the skill required must be there. If you take that, then for you to establish negligence in itself, there must be a breach of that duty. And how do you establish that breach? Which leads us to causation. You must determine what caused that incident. And that can only be done via a postmortem of the body autopsy, as the case may be. So it is then that you can now lean on what the outcome is. So for instance, if it's a situation where the person passed on or was a situation where irreparable damage was done, the causation element is actually very critical to determining the negligence aspects of any healthcare worker that may have been involved.
But just before I let you go, beyond the oh boy, what legal responsibilities do the hospitals themselves have and Nigeria's regulatory bodies? Are they even doing enough to check these issues of medical negligence?
I think on a state level, like we have a facility management and accreditation agency in Lagos State, for instance. They tend to go around the licensed hospitals. They are in charge of compliance. I also know that just a few days ago, the Minister of Health also set up what we call the National Task Force on Clinical Governance and Patient Safety, with a lot of protocols in place. The constitution of that committee is widespread. We have a lot of foreign trained Nigerian doctors in diaspora on that committee. We have professors here as well in Nigeria on that committee. So with all of this coming into place, I think I'm a bit, it's hopeful. It's good that we have a minister that listens and that also feels the pulse of the people and has swung to action to set up this committee. So let's give them a bit of time. We also have a national health facility regulation bill at the National Assembly, which has passed second stage. And I think at the public hearing stage, it's very critical and important for us to have sensitization and for both the public and the private sector stakeholders to be carried out.
All right.
So it's a team effort. I think it's all about the laws, the execution of the laws, the monitoring, and of course, the patients understanding their rights.
All right, thank you very much. Dayo Adu is a managing partner, More Room Africa, who is also a lawyer, but in the medical field, quite versed as well. Thank you very much.
Thank you.